I once sat upon the throne of ancient Egypt. I am not dreaming. I remember everything began with a nightmare. Amelia Carter, a freelance historical researcher, never thought she would become the center of one of the greatest mysteries of the 21st century. She lived an ordinary life in the suburbs of Manchester until the night of her 32nd birthday. In her sleep, she dreamt of gilded walls, colossal pillars casting shadows over vast halls, and an air filled with the scent of resin and lotus flowers. She saw herself dressed in a royal gown embroidered with gold threads, wearing a crown bearing the symbol of a cobra coiled around her forehead. Beneath the stone steps, thousands of subjects bowed deeply, calling her by unfamiliar titles. Long live the Queen, daughter of the sun. When she awoke, Amelia could not breathe. Cold sweat drenched her skin, but what sent shivers down her spine was not the vividness of the dream. It was the feeling that it was not a dream at all. It was a memory. From that day onward, Amelia became haunted. She began sketching the images she saw, Zaima's strange symbols, winding corridors, and a secret chamber hidden behind a stone wall. The problem was, some of the symbols she drew did not match any known Egyptian patterns. One evening, unable to endure the confusion any longer, she sought out Dr. Marcus Vane, a leading archaeologist specializing in ancient Egypt, who had participated in excavations at Luxor and Saqqara. Trembling, Amelia laid her drawings out before him. She recounted in detail the lifestyles, rituals, music, and cuisine. Things she had never read about, never studied. Marcus stared at the drawings, his face gradually turning pale. This cannot be. Amelia. Her voice shaking. I was there. I remember every stone beneath my feet. I even remember the scent of the river when the festivals began. I remember she choked up my own death. Marcus was a hardened skeptic, but there was something in Amelia's eyes that he could not ignore. A profound authenticity, far beyond the usual reincarnation tales people told. He decided to do something he had never dared to do with anyone else. Test her claims against sites that had never been disclosed to the public. They embarked on a fateful journey to Egypt. During the first few days in Cairo, Amelia repeatedly dreamed detailed maps of the ancient city of Memphis. Once the capital of early dynastic Egypt, she hand-sketched a rough map. Narrow alleys, crumbling towers, and a secret temple that, according to her, had been buried for 4,000 years. Marcus cross-referenced available records and immediately frowned. There was no documentation of such a temple, but one thing chilled him to the bone. The location Amelia pointed to aligned perfectly with an unexcavated archaeological zone, where radar equipment had once detected anomalies buried deep beneath the earth. Things were beginning to defy belief. On the first night they approached the area, Amelia unexpectedly led the group as if she had walked this path 1,000 times before. She stopped at a mound of earth, closed her eyes, and whispered, just one below here. There is a room, a sealed doorway. Marcus and the archaeology team chuckled dismissively. Nevertheless, they conducted a scan using ground-penetrating radar. The screen lit up. A hollow mass lay 9 meters below the surface, exactly where she had indicated. The laughter vanished. Over the next several nights, Amelia recounted strange stories of bizarre rituals, a hidden uprising, and an air in the shadows never mentioned in any historical records. The names she spoke, Chenet, Aseth, Merumfa, were absent from any known ancient texts. Yet when Marcus cross-checked several untranslated papyri at the British Museum, he uncovered something shocking. Those names appeared faintly and partially erased. In the oldest surviving records, it seemed that someone had deliberately tried to conceal them. One question increasingly gnawed at Marcus's mind. If Amelia was not making this up, then who was she? And why did the memories she carried touch on matters the entire field of archaeology seemed desperate to avoid? Amelia gazed at the night sky over Cairo. tears glistening under the moonlight. I do not want to remember," she whispered. "But I cannot forget." In the distance, the desert winds began to stir, carrying with them whispers from a long-dead age, and the journey into memory, or perhaps into a buried historical secret, had only just begun. There are things we cannot uncover because our ancestors chose to seal them away. The desert wind swept across the ancient land of Memphis like invisible spirits, stirring layers of the dust of time. Under the faint halogen lights, Dr. Marcus Vane's archaeological team meticulously operated their equipment, each pickaxe and shovel stroke as careful as if performing a sacred ritual. Amelia stood still, not far away, her eyes half closed. She did not need a map. She knew exactly where they were. A small temple, she said, her voice echoing from the depths of memory, a place where secret priests gathered, where a forgotten queen once ordered its construction. 3 days later, the earth and rocks began to give way to a structure. The peak of a limestone arch emerged, intricately crafted. The engraved patterns, though worn by time, remained clear, showing a winged sun and lines of unfamiliar hieroglyphs, most of which did not match any known ancient Egyptian language. Marcus frowned, reading each character. Beside him, a symbolist expert, Dr. Ling Zhao, whispered, a form of dialect, perhaps even pre-Egyptian. But Amelia, after just a glance, seamlessly translated it into English. Chosen by the river god, heir to the buried truth, no one could explain how she understood. The arched door led down a narrow, spiral staircase that sank deep into the ground. The air was thick with the scent of damp stone and ancient resin. Amelia led the way, her hand brushing lightly against the carved walls. Every symbol she touched, she recited fluently like a priestess from a distant past. "This place is not for mortals," she whispered. "Those without the blessing may not pass through the door." A warning, a ritual sign, a forbidden boundary. At the bottom of the staircase, a giant black stone door blocked the way. At its center was a strange lock. In 3 interlocking circles, each etched with symbols no one in the group could recognize. Marcus tried using a crowbar. It did not budge. Amelia stepped forward. She placed her hand on the lock, her fingers gently turning the circles in a strange sequence, as if she had performed this action hundreds of times before. Click. The group held their breath. The door trembled slightly, and then slowly opened. Not with a loud creak, but with a soft whisper, like the sigh of the ancient stone walls themselves. Beyond the door, they saw a round chamber. At its center was an altar made of quartz, illuminated by beams of light filtering through cracks in the ceiling, making it glow as if holding the very soul of the sun. And on the altar was a small stone sarcophagus, entirely covered in layers of golden ice. It was not meant for a mummy. There was no corpse. Only one object rested there, a gold necklace, carved with the image of a twin serpent coiled around a teardrop-shaped lapis lazuli stone. Amelia collapsed to her knees, her hands trembling. This she choked up was mine. Marcus stood frozen. Dr. Zhao approached and scanned it with infrared devices, checking the stone material and crafting style, none of which matched any recorded Egyptian artifact, an artifact belonging to no known era. But the strangest thing was the lapis lazuli stone in the necklace emitted a faint electromagnetic field, something never before observed in any mineral. Amelia whispered, as if in a trance. I entrusted it to the priests, commanded them to seal this place before the rebels came. If they seized the stone, the dynasty would fall forever. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Marcus suddenly remembered. In some ancient texts, there were mentions of the heirlooms of the gods, artifacts said to contain powers beyond human understanding. But those were only legends, or had they been wrong? After cataloging the artifact, Marcus made the decision to transport the necklace to a modern laboratory in Cairo for further analysis. Amelia protested fiercely. It must not leave this sanctuary. No, once it is removed, The curse will awaken. Her voice echoed down the stone corridor, like the reverberations of thousands of years of history. But science does not believe in curses. Marcus ordered the artifact removed. That was the first mistake. The next day, as the archaeological team prepared to leave the area, a series of strange events began to unfold. Communication devices suffered heavy interference. A sudden mild earthquake shook the excavation site. One team member went missing during an exploration around the perimeter, leaving behind only a shattered walkie-talkie. Amelia, her face pale, simply said, "They are angry." But who were they? And when they returned to Cairo, the disturbances did not end. The necklace, though protected behind anti-theft glass, shifted positions every night. Security cameras recorded inexplicable footage. In the darkness, the lapis lazuli stone emitted faint glows, as if ancient symbols were awakening. Scientists tested for artificial magnetic fields, for signs of hidden electronics. They found nothing, but they could not explain any of the phenomena. During a clinical hypnosis session intended to assess her psychological state, Amelia suddenly spoke in ancient Egyptian, using a dialect never formally recorded. The hypnosis recording shocked the Cairo Archaeological Council. A linguist fell silent after translating her words. "Return what belongs to the stars. If not, the curse will pierce through every age." Now, Marcus Vane faced an impossible choice: believe Amelia and face the ridicule of the entire scientific community, or continue studying the necklace and risk confronting forces he could not comprehend. Meanwhile, Amelia, or more precisely, the ancient memory within her, had realized something. If the stone fully awakened, the modern world would pay the price. The mystery had only just begun to unfold, and ahead lay a truth that not even the most renowned archaeologists were ready to accept. History is not what we think we know. Sometimes it is merely what others want us to believe. When the necklace was temporarily displayed in the secure area of the National Museum of Cairo, Marcus Vane thought everything would settle down. But on the very first night, an unprecedented phenomenon occurred. The museum's entire security system went down for 6 minutes. 6 minutes of silence. 6 minutes of darkness. 6 minutes where cameras, thermal sensors, and even backup power were all simultaneously disabled. When the power returned, the necklace was no longer in its original place. Instead, it was found the next morning lying in the center of the main hall, on the marble floor, surrounded by strange spiral-shaped scorch marks. All of Cairo was shaken. News quickly spread throughout the international archaeological community. Some claimed it was an elaborate hoax. Others, those who had witnessed the event firsthand, began whispering Amelia was right. Meanwhile, Amelia was detained for questioning. Psychologists, historians, and occult scholars took turns interrogating her. Yet every time she faced them, she answered coldly, "I am not Amelia. I am merely borrowing this body to deliver a warning." That statement spread like a virus within the academic community. For modern science, this was unacceptable. But the more they tried to break the truth, the deeper they were pulled into a series of inexplicable events. An archaeologist who had touched the necklace suddenly disappeared on his way back to the hotel. His car was found empty, engine still running, but no trace of him. A famous linguist who claimed to have deciphered the inscriptions on the necklace suffered a stroke in his office, mumbling ancient Egyptian words no one could translate. A project sponsor, who secretly planned to auction the necklace, was found drowned in his hotel bathtub, the water around him frozen solid despite normal room conditions. The entire city began whispering about the curse of the stone. Amelia, by now, was no longer herself. During deep hypnosis sessions, she revealed more secrets that left experts speechless. Her true name in her past life was Ankh-Sen Aset, meaning she who is bound to the goddess Isis. Her title was Pharaoh, but not recorded in any known dynasty. Her mission was to protect a seed of light, a form of technology or knowledge passed down from the stars. Not everyone understood, but a few esoteric scholars grasped the implication. Amelia was referring to an ancient wisdom once hidden by Egyptian civilization, perhaps something far beyond our current comprehension, a technology involving energy, frequency, and the very manipulation of matter. Marcus Vane faced an impossible choice: reveal the entire truth and be exiled by the archaeological community, or bury it forever to protect the world from a secret too dangerous to unleash. One night, torn by inner conflict, Marcus went to meet Amelia, now held in high-security isolation. She looked at him, her gaze no longer belonging to this world. "You fear the truth," she said in a hoarse voice, "but the truth does not need your belief to exist." That night, Marcus decided to conduct one final test to bring the necklace back to the temple site Amelia had discovered, hoping either to prove it was all coincidence or to confront whatever was hidden there. The final journey was kept secret. Only 5 people were in the group: Marcus, a geophysical energy specialist, a security agent, and Amelia. When they set foot into the ancient underground chamber, Amelia seemed to transform completely. She stepped toward the central altar, her eyes half closed, the necklace cradled in her hands like a sacred relic. "This is where it belongs." She placed the necklace on the altar. At that very moment, a small tremor rippled through the ground. The ceiling and stone walls began to emit a soft glow, the ancient veins, previously invisible, now lighting up like living circuits. No one in the group dared move. Then, from the center of the altar, a slender beam of light shot upward, striking a spot that had once appeared as merely a faint crack. An ancient mechanism activated. The ceiling slowly parted, revealing a hidden chamber above. In that chamber, Marcus and the group witnessed a sight beyond imagination. A massive crystal floated in midair, untouched by any support. Strange symbols, not entirely hieroglyphic, covered its surface. Streams of light, like data or messages, so flowed across the crystal. It was not the work of human hands, at least not the humanity we know. Amelia turned to look at Marcus one last time and smiled. "Now they will remember, and you will have to choose." Immediately after, her body went limp, unconscious. No one knew what had just happened. When Marcus and the team returned to Cairo, the story was no longer a secret. Some footage mysteriously leaked, showing the floating crystal, quickly spreading across social media, sparking conspiracy theories and fierce debates. Had the ancient Egyptians truly been guided by an extraterrestrial civilization? Was human history merely a series of hidden resets? Who sealed away the truth and why? The mainstream archaeological community was thrown into chaos, unable to fully deny, yet unable to officially acknowledge it. In the official report, they labeled it as an unexplained natural phenomenon. But those who had witnessed it, Marcus, Ling Zhao, and Amelia, knew an ancient truth had awakened, and the world, ready or not, had entered a new era of awareness. Deep within the desert, beneath layers of time, other secrets still await, waiting for someone brave enough to remember, waiting for someone crazy enough to believe. The end, but also only the beginning.